Recording. All right, so today we're going to cover Git Bash setup and installation. And I'm just going to start by going to this site, if everybody can see this here. So I just searched up on Google, like Git Bash download, or just Git Bash. Go here. So I have Windows, so I'm going to download on Windows. I'm just going to download it. Click that. Also, if anybody falls behind on these steps, it's totally fine. We do have office hours. Today's office hours are basically just free for setup, questions related to setup, and also working on past labs. There are no new assignments for this afternoon lab session. So if you do fall a bit behind, that's okay. So I'm just going to download that. Move this over. Oops. So this is the Git setup. Just going to hit next. Okay, sure, let's install. Okay. I'm just using the standard installation. Sure. So yeah, so that's just the link I used to download it. I'm just going through, I'm not changing any settings when I download it. I'm just going to use the standard settings and just clicking next through all of that. So you can use this Git terminal for bash commands as well, which is something I'll be going over. Yeah, it might look different on Mac, but the setup is pretty similar. I think Mac related setup, it's specific to Mac. You might get an application thing that you have to move to an applications folder. So you should install the latest version. I think it'll be just on the main page. So if you go here and you just, let's say you have Mac. Oh, interesting. Hmm. So I guess for now, we can maybe hold off on installing it for Mac, because I'm pretty sure you can use all the same bash commands and setup commands on the Mac terminal. I just clicked this button here on the top. Click here to download. So just that one. Yeah. Oops. Okay, perfect. So it should look something like this once that's downloaded. So the idea here, this is a separate terminal, but you can also open it for sure. You can also open it here, Git Bash as well. And yeah, for people who have Mac, it might not actually be necessary because I'm pretty sure the Mac terminal on its own should be enough. But if it isn't, then during lab, the other instructor who's working with me, Yaman, I'm fairly sure he has Mac, so we can go over it in terms on Mac, how to set that up. Yeah, so to open this, it's not really necessary, but I just click, okay, new terminal. Sure, let's just do it in teaching. And there's this drop down here. And on this drop down, I just click Git Bash. Now this will also be uploaded, so So that's how I open the terminal on VS Code. And specifically, it's running the git bash terminal. Anyway, so this is my basic terminal. And we're going to be going over a few commands, just like really quick introduction. So, I can do ls that says, the current contents of the directory. And then here, let's say I want to change directory. So I want to go to desktop, which is actually in this main users directory where I started. So I would just type cd desktop. And now I know I'm in desktop. So clear is just to clear that. I can type ls over there as well to list the contents. So, and yeah, pwd, that just tells me my current directory. So those are just some really basic starting commands. Let's say if I want to make a new directory. So I think what I'll do so that we can see it like in real time is I'll go to the directory where where this VS Code is open. So let's see. So I would need to leave this, and I believe I have it in documents. So let's see, let's go here. My documents, or actually just documents. And what you can do is you can partially complete this. So if I just type doc and then tab, it'll finish the rest of that word with like the first thing it finds. So documents. Okay, so now I'm in documents. And let's go to, so this is coding in color here. So let's go to coding in color, coding in color. I just did the autocomplete with tab as well. And so now I'm in coding in color, right? So let's say cd, let's go into teaching, just ls. Okay, so I need to go into teaching. And projects. But wait, I'm in here, projects, right? But I want to go into lectures, this folder here. So I'm actually in the wrong place. So if I want to change that, I can do cd space and then 2 dots. So the benefits of having this is that Git is built into this. So, I mean, that'll come up a little bit later. All right, so I'm in teaching right now, and now I'm going to go to lecture. So remember, I use these 2 dots to leave the projects directory. And mind you, all these commands should still work on your Mac terminal. So all I'm doing is I'm just using these things to move around here. All right, so sorry, I see a question here. Why are we not using this on a standalone? I don't quite understand the question.
They stand alone, When I install, it pop up a window separately.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah, because now it's on the VS Code, so how I'm gonna run my exercise on VS Code if I have this?
I mean, both will run. What's important is being in the correct directory where your code is. So I can show that. So let's show
But can
that.
I use the standalone version instead?
Yeah, so you can have it open separately here. You can also do this, like when we're coding, we will do it in here. It's just easier, but because I'm not coding right now and I'm just showing commands, I have this standalone thing open, but either or works. Like this is exactly the same as this. It's just, this is inside the thing. Yeah. All right, so I'm in lectures, right? All right, so let's see, what are some other commands we can do? Let's make a directory. So let's make directory and let's call it test. All right, so now notice here, if I open this, I actually have a test directory inside that. Even here, I can list them out exactly. And now I can move inside test and perfect. So I can now create a file. So let's say test.js. Okay. And as you can see here, now there's that file there. Let's say I write console.log hello, right? So I write that there. Let's display the file content. So let's say that would be cat. And then it was test.js. So it's like cat and then the name of the file and console log. So this would work. This works. You actually have to give it the path. Now, because we're in the same directory, that's fine. We just need test.js. But let's say if I went out one, nano, right? There are some different commands that you can use. If I went out one, I would probably do this. Let me see if this works. Perfect, right? Because now I have to tell it, go into this folder and then do this file. So let's go back into this test directory, and we have the test file in it. Now let's think, okay, maybe we want to remove this file. So you can just type rm and then the name of the file, and that'll remove it. And now see, this is gone. Here, there's like a red thing there. And let's say I also want to remove the directory test because, maybe I don't want that. So ls, okay, I'm in the right place. I can use the command rmdir, and then I just type the name of the directory, test, and that'll remove that. And as you can see, it also removed it here. So these are just some commands we can use to make these changes. Yeah, I'm fairly sure we don't have to download anything on Mac. I think Mac has built-in things like Git cloning and so on. But thing is, I think if you have, let me actually double check here. Git bash install Mac. Yeah, a lot of these commands are there. Now, maybe cloning repos, which is something we're going to go into later, do not work. So on the Mac settings, there's an installation link for Homebrew. And if you have Homebrew, then you can just use one line that will install Git. And there is a Homebrew install here. So I think if anybody has, if people do have Mac, that's something we can go into after during lab, because I think my other co-instructor has Mac, so we can help with that. Yep, I guess there's also a binary installer. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know much about that. Oh, actually, here. So I haven't used that before, and I don't know much about that. So as far as Mac installation goes, we can cover that in the lab. There'll be a lot of time to help with that. For sure. So when it came to opening on VS Code, it's just the same way to open a terminal, new terminal. And then, okay, I'm just gonna do it in this. And then all I would do is this drop down here next to PowerShell. There's a plus button. There's also a arrow down. And then you select Git Bash. Now, Git Bash has to be installed for it to be able to do that. So that's how to open it in that location. And then let's just go to lectures. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much all the commands you need to know, or most of them. There's like a few more that could be useful. Copying files and directories. So let's say I make a file here. I'm also going to name this test and let's just put another console log hi in it. And what I can do here is, if I want to copy this file, so I would put the source. So I'm in lectures test.js. And let's say then you put the destination. So I actually want to copy it to, I'm going to say outside of this, I'm going to go to projects. And maybe, can I actually do this? So, okay, so what I did was, you can ignore this, my website. So with this command, what I did was I said, I want you to copy what is in test.js, and I want you to put it in this area here. Now, this ... means I want to go up one level. So I want to exit the lecture directory. So now I'm in the teaching directory, and I want to go into projects directory here, projects, and then put it inside, copy or paste it to example.js. Now, example.js does not exist, so it will actually create the file. And now we see here, these two files are exactly the same. So I've copied this and I've moved it to here. It's basically just like here, and then you put the source where you want to copy from, and then space destination. Now, a lot of these commands, I mean, these can be searched up online as well. But I will be providing this will be recorded. All right, and let's say maybe I want to move this test.js. It's a very similar source, and then the next bit is going to be the destination. So let's say now I actually want to go outside of two of these, right? So I'm going outside of lectures and outside of teaching, and I'm going to move it to the JS directory. So that moved that test.js that was here in lectures, and it moved it to here. So this is just some really, I'm just actually gonna let us actually remove that file. So let us go here, and then I'm gonna see remove, and then which file, js/test.js. Ooh, interesting. Oh, okay, my bad. I wasn't in the right directory. So from this directory here, I would need to actually give the right path. So coding in color is like the parent, and then the two children folders are teaching and JS. Now I want to remove test.js, which is in JS. So I would just do js/test.js. And perfect. So now that's removed because we don't see it there anymore. All right. And let's actually go back into teaching. And let's go to lectures. Okay. So I did cover, there are a few tips and tricks. So using tab for auto completion, for instance. So there's nothing here for me to auto complete, but let's see here. If I just put L and then I hit tab, it'll auto complete with the first thing it finds. So in that case, it's lectures. And you can also navigate, you can also sort of navigate history of past commands using the up and down arrow key. So notice this, these are all the past commands I've run. Now this is pretty helpful if, for instance, you're doing a lot of debugging or running the same file, and notice you might run node, let's say the file name is test.js, right? Now I can't find anything because nothing's there. Let's just make a really quick example. Lecture.js, let's just console log hi. So one thing you can do is just this, you just do that, right? Runs, you make some changes, and you just go up on your arrow, on the arrow key, and you can run it again like that. So you don't have to keep typing the same command. You can just use these arrow keys to run the most recent commands you've used. So I'm just pressing up continually to cycle up and then down more recent commands. So let's say I want to clear this. So yeah, I hope that just a very quick overview of some things we can do in Bash that makes our lives easier when we're programming. It's very similar to just regular file navigation as well. Like, what I could also do is I could also, it's really the same as doing this. So let me find it. Documents. Like when I'm here, it's really the same as me being here, right? It's exactly like I'm here. And then clicking into this JS, CDJS. So there's a very strong parallel between these two. In fact, it's almost exactly the same. It's just this is sort of the user interface. It lets the user more easily interact with it. So yeah. All right, so see a good question here. Why are we using Git Bash instead of the terminal? So this terminal that we're using right now is the same as this Git Bash because I did open Git Bash in the terminal. So that's like Git Bash not connecting. Okay, so yeah, any of these like setup issues, we can cover that in lab as well. It might be different like Mac versus Windows. So I showed the Windows setup because I don't have Mac. And I mean, I sent a little bit of links on how to install it in case of Mac, just in the chat. But yeah, that's something we can cover because I'm fairly sure my co-instructor does have Mac, so we can cover that after. But I'd say, especially if you have Mac, I mean, we will see soon if it does still work. But I'm fairly sure a lot of these Git commands should still work just on the regular Mac terminal. They might not though, so that is something that we will cover. But as far as like once you have it set up, the Git Bash, we will record this, so there will also be all the setup that we're doing. We're going to be making a repository. We're going to be making commits to the repository. We'll be cloning repos. We'll be pushing repos, making new branches. So all of that will be covered, and that'll be the same for Mac and Windows on the Git Bash once that is set up. All right. So does anybody have any questions related to anything I did, like as far as the commands are concerned, or like Windows related Git questions? All right. So I think we'll take a few minutes for a break. And then when we come back, I'll be going over talking a little bit about Git, what it's used for, and then start the setup so that we can start cloning repos, working with repositories through this Bash terminal that we have open here. Yeah, so we're working on labs, but I also just went through a setup for like how to set up the how to get this git bash on Windows. But this will also be recorded, so yeah. But here, actually, I do think it's important for like being able to like follow with the rest of the lecture. So here, let me share the link. So downloading Git Bash, because we will be using that to actually like make commands, clone repos, and so on. I think if you have Windows, it should be pretty straightforward. You just click the Windows, and then it's like click the first hyperlink, which is the latest download. If you have Mac, you can use Homebrew to install it. So there's a command there for Homebrew, but there's also an installer. Although the installer is the old version, the binary installer. So installing in, I mean, it's the same because this is not VS Code. This is a terminal that we open, and it's just happens to be in the same path, right? Because look, if I do this, if I click new terminal, it's going to tell me what path I want. So this is exactly the same as just opening. Here, I can close this. It's exactly the same as opening this terminal. The difference is that the path is different. And also, like, this is PowerShell, but here. If I go to Bash, now my Bash terminal is in the same path that I want to open it in. This is the same terminal. It's exactly the same. It's just the path is different. So that's the benefit of using the one here, is that it opens with the right path to to the project you're working on. So you can use either or. I would recommend this one just because it's a bit easier, because you won't have to like navigate around. It is just built in here. Yeah. All right. Feel free to share your screen, and yeah, we can take a look at that. Actually, do you have Mac? I think, yeah, if you have Mac,
Hi. Hi.
hi. Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, so it's not like, yeah, I don't have it.
So you need to click the arrow drop down, not the three dots, the arrow next to that. Yeah, that arrow, and then git bash.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, okay, so it looks like it's working. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no worries. All right. All right, so let's start from where we left off. So I think before we talk about setup for Git, I think I'll just really briefly kind of draw out what version control looks like here. So for developers, using Git helps us keep sort of track of changes that we're making in our code, especially changes over time. So, let's say we make a release today and we find out something's not working, like the whole app crashes, right? But we still have yesterday's code before we made this change, so we can, revert those changes. And that's I would say a pretty good example for when it's important. So let's say here, we just draw start. This is like a timeline, and this is like yesterday, and this is today. So like today it's not working, so we revert the changes to yesterday's code. And this only works because we do have some repository, a remote repository with our changes. So I think now I'll actually talk a little bit about what these two terms mean. So in the context of local and remote. So remote repos are stored on GitHub server. So I will just put remote here. We'll show some actual examples, like the proper names. But the idea is that we have some code that we have, right? So let's say, so far it's only really been files. So let's just call it test.js. So we have a version of this locally on our computer. So our computer, this is called local. And if we're connected to what's called a repo, let's call this class. The repo's name is class, and class is one file test.js. So we have a version existing remotely and we have a version locally. So let's say that there were, both of these are in sync right now. And what that means is that, all the code we have locally is also on the remote version. Now, if we make some changes here, so we, 1, 2, we add 2 lines, we push those changes to the remote. And now, let's say originally this is 10 lines and now it has 12. So the remote version goes from 10 lines to 12 lines. Now I'm just putting lines there just to reflect the idea that we have added some code to it, and that those changes are reflected remotely as well. So, remote now has 12 lines, just like we do locally. And let's say one of our friends also has access to the repository. And this is like friend, and this is their local as well. So if they have access to the repository, what they can do is they can do a git pull, and they can pull down all the changes for this repository. So first, actually, what they would do, they wouldn't first do a pull. The first thing they do, and we'll go over this, is something called cloning. So cloning would basically make this repo class with the file. That would be a clone. So the clone would make a local version of this. Now we also have a local version of it just from the get-go. So they would do a clone, which gives them a local version of it. Now, maybe they did that clone earlier in the day, so they only have the 10 lines. They don't have the 2 lines we added. So they would do a pull to pull in the latest changes from that repository. And then they'd get those extra 2 lines. So does anybody have questions about sort of this idea of local versus remote and like what we sort of do to update these things? Feel free to raise your hand and if everybody sort of gets that example, feel free to write in the chat that that makes sense. For sure. Yeah. I'll go over this example one more time. So the first little bit here, so this idea, start, and then, so what I was just, I'll just erase this actually. So what I'm showing here is this idea that we can use, and I'll do this in blue. So let's say we start coding at some point in time here. And let's say today the app broke. So we have, our most recent changes got deployed, the app broke. It's terrible, right? What we can do is, because if we use version control has version history. So it keeps a history of all our code over time. And so let's say yesterday's code, let's say October 9th, was working totally fine. That's good. So what we can do is we can revert these changes back to yesterday here. So then our code's working. So that's like one really important use case for that. Now, what I will do is I'll actually really quickly redraw this. So really quickly go over this example. All right. So the idea here, what I wanted to demonstrate, let's do it in orange, is this idea that we have a remote and a local Git repo. Now, repo, you can just think of that as like a folder where our code is, project, right? Project code is. So imagine that that's remote and this is local. So let's say, so first, exactly, it's like a backup copy. So let's say backup on this remote, we have class, and I'm going to use like this to denote that this is a folder, class folder, and we have a file called test.js. And let's say there are 10 lines on this file. And let's say locally here, we are in sync with this repository that's remote. We also have a test.js, we have 10 lines of code. And so the idea here, this is the remote repository, this is our local repository. So this is like a local version of what is remote. So we add 2 lines. So now this becomes 12 lines of code. So now our local repo is ahead of this remote one. So we need to push these changes up to remote so that our remote copy reflects all the changes that we have like at present. So with these 2 codes. So that's, I'll show an example of this as well, but that's what we call a push. When we push changes up to the remote, right? Now, let's say our friend wants this code as well, and they want to make some changes to it. So one thing our friend can do is, like, the first thing that they need is they actually need access to this repository. So we would maybe add them as collaborators and so on. So they get access, right? And to do that, we're also going to be showing this, but they would actually do something called a clone. So they're going to, and that's called cloning the repository. They're cloning the repo locally. So now they have their own local version, and they're starting off with 12 lines. Now maybe they make their own update, right? They add 2 more lines. So now it's 14 lines. So again, it's the same thing. They push those changes up. So now the remote repo, instead of being 12 lines, it's now 14 lines. But we only have the 12 lines of code. So we need to pull to get those changes. So yeah, once you do push, if those changes are, there's a term we use, they're merged, then yes, it rewrites over the original copy, but there is a version history kept of like every change that you make over time. So that's how you can actually go back. Yeah, so you need to clone it to have your own version to actually like start doing things. That's a good question. Like multiple pushes happening at the same time. So normally it's a good question. It's almost like a race condition. Like it doesn't know what push to happen at what point in time. Now, one thing is Git will handle these. So it'll make sure that people are working on the same version, but also, what we often do is, and we'll cover this very shortly, but we have branches. So we might have, this is the main branch. That's like one version, let's say with 10 lines. And then there's another branch. This is the branch like you're working on, and this is the branch your friend is working on. So usually people might work on independent branches, and then you need permission to merge it back into the main one. So changes will require permission to merge. Although it's a good test to do, if you give two people the same permissions on the main and have them like merge their changes at the same time or push their changes at the same time, what happens and how that's resolved? That's a good question. All right, so is this idea clear for everyone that we sort of have? I mean, this is just like a diagram. I will be going into, we will actually be running these commands and seeing what happens. Although branches, we'll go more into depth on branches tomorrow, because this is like, obviously this is more of like when it comes to collaboration and having multiple people work, and what are the best practices for that. But yeah, is this idea clear for everybody? Like this, let me see, get this a little bit here. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I can do, if you want, I can take a screenshot of this and just send this in the chat, just so it's, because I will be clearing this. So I can take a screenshot of that. Now you can also find, like, I think I'll also put up a reference lecture. So I'll just put this in the chat, screenshot. All right. For sure, so merging, once we set up, so first we're actually gonna do a setup of our, a little bit of a setup, and talking a bit about just getting our own repo going. But once we cover that, I'll come back to Git branches in more detail, and I'll talk about merging and how that works. All right, so I'm just gonna clear the drawings and close that. I did also post a screenshot. All right, so now this next bit may take a little bit of time, but I think it's very important. So this is for like setting up and how that works. Oh. Interesting. I think I'm at a, where am I? What is this? Okay, maybe we'll close that for now. So what we're actually first going to do is we're going to work a little bit on actually just setting it up for usage with GitHub. So this command, I have this right. Okay, so right now, we're just going to set our name and email. Now that gets installed, we're just going to set our name and email. And you know what? I'll just do it in here because I think most people have it on this. So you can use this, like you can type this command, git space config -- list, and that'll list all of the information that's relevant. And I just typed Q and enter, or I just typed Q to exit that. So what you want to do is you want to set your username and email. This is the first part of setup, so we can easily clone repos. All right, how's that? And what I'll do is I'll also just close that for now. Okay. All right, so the next command, all this is going to do is set my name to that. Now remember, the name and the email, this is from GitHub. So this is your GitHub, and I'll even write it here. GitHub username and the email associated with your GitHub account. So that's what I'm typing in here. So I use that command to set my username. And I use this command. It's the same thing, user.email, and then space, and I write my email. So this is my email from my GitHub account. Okay, and just to check if those have been updated properly, again, you can type that git config dash dash list. And then now those are updated there. And I'll just scroll up a bit so you can see these commands. Remember, in between these quotations, you put your actual username or email. So I'll just leave that on the screen there. All right, so once that is done, our next command, and I'm actually going to do it on here because the output of this command is something private. You don't want to share this, so I'm putting it on a terminal that I can move to my other screen when I add it in. So you want to type, and I'll also put this in the chat actually as well. So as you can see, SSH keygen -B 4096 dash, and then this is a capital C, and then your email. So in my case, that's that email. Oops. So I also put that in the chat. So I'm going to run that on a different screen. And it'll give you some prompts like it's generating this key, which file. I just press enter on all of them. You don't need to like change the file it's saving something to. You don't even need a passphrase either. So I just press enter on all of them. And it will give you a key fingerprint. So, and then you'll see like this like sort of this diagram of what that looks like. And so once that's done, you're going to type in that. So I'll also write that in. And then you just hit enter on there. Now this setup is just for something called SSHing. So it's so that in your terminal, you can clone repos. You don't have to download the repo explicitly from GitHub. So I'll show when it's actually why it's relevant. And so that's the last command after the eval is going to be SSH add. And then there's like this key on my keyboard. It's just a shift on the backtick key. We'll give that one. And I'll just type in .ssh id RSA. So this is the path for like where the actual keys are stored. So this is going to add that to the key to the SSH agent. Perfect. So as you can see for me, it says identity added to this email. And then the final command you want to run once like all of these have been run in that order. So that command is actually going to copy to your clipboard what's in that file. So I have clip and then space, with this symbol here, and then the path. So that command there, I've also put that in the chat. All right, does anybody have any questions so far? So these commands are, what we're trying to do is we're actually setting up a SSH key so that we can use this terminal to clone Git repositories if we have cloning access. So we can just directly clone them, and we can use terminal to push and pull and do these commands. Like this same terminal, like this one, we could, git push and so on. Like we can just very easily write our commands and do it that way. So this is just for the setup for getting it ready for that. So that's why it's important. If anybody has any questions so far, from like at this point, as long as you're here, it's good. If you have any questions, do let me know now, because this is pretty important, at least for doing the next little bit, which is the like actually cloning repos and making changes to them. Yeah, feel free to just type in the chat if everything so far makes sense. For sure. So if email is not showing, like if you type in git config list, and like if this email is not showing, you need to set the email. So what you can do is you can do git config --global user.email and then type in your email here. So that's my email, so I'll be typing that. I will copy and paste this in the chat as well. So if your email is not showing, you'll need to type in that command with your email there. And remember, this is your GitHub username and your GitHub email. So it's from the count. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at that. Yeah, feel free to share your screen. Yeah, feel free to share your screen. We can take a look at that.
Hi, so I already wrote the git config global username, my username and my email. And when I did write configs list, it didn't show my email or my username. I think I just
Actually, can you scroll up a bit to the command? So let's just see. Here, if you can scroll back up just to the command you made, or maybe just type Q first in the terminal. So that'll quit that. Perfect. Yeah, and if you can scroll up to where you made the command for setting username and email. Let's just see. Okay, that's odd. Here, wait, let me try something. So if I just want to see if I write git config user.name, okay, so try typing in, I'm going to type this here. Git config and then space user.name. And I want to see if it gives you the username, because it might not be listing it but it might still be there.
Git config and then what? I don't see
And then
the
a space, and then user.name. Okay, perfect. So it is there. It's just not showing it. I'm pretty sure email as well is just say it is saved there. For some reason, it doesn't show it. But yeah, I think
So is this correct?
yeah, it's working. And like just to confirm, this is your
Okay.
GitHub username and your GitHub email, like for your GitHub
Yes.
account. Okay,
Yes.
good, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so Hannah, you have a question. So it didn't let you enter the SSH key. Is
Yes,
that
when I try to copy the same command that you send it, the eval as agent, it's not letting me even write it. Can I show you? Let me show.
sure. Although usually like the I'd say just make sure, just type it in, but then don't press enter. Don't share your screen to press enter. Just stop sharing and press enter because it is like a private key. Like you don't want anybody to see that key because it's important for
So I
for
should write like eval SSH agent underscore s, then the key.
no. So you did generate the key, right? The SSA, the keygen command.
Yes,
So
let me.
this
Sure
so
to
this
be
command did this command work?
Let me show it to you. I'm not really sure. Let me clear. Control C. Clear everything. Here, like I did this one.
Yep.
Okay, with my email. Then here, generate public private RSA key bear. Okay, enter file in which to save the key.
So for all of these, and you can stop sharing. So I would say don't share, like, because it will show you the key. Just press enter for each of these. Just enter, 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 which
Like,
means it's just gonna default save on in a certain file.
okay, just
Yeah, so
enter
just
without anything.
yeah, just enter without anything, and it should generate the key, and it'll show you the key.
And show me the key.
Yeah, so it'll show the key in the terminal output in the
Oh,
terminal
the
itself.
fingerprint, the key fingerprint.
Exactly.
Okay, that one I should keep it.
You don't need to copy it. That'll be covered. We will the next few commands. So this command now. So now you would do that command. So you don't need to save it in any file. You just press enter. Like when it gives you these prompts
Yes.
for like which file or passphrase, just keep pressing enter. It'll pick a default file.
Okay.
Because then the rest of the commands assume the default file.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'd say once you get the key, I'd say run this command. So maybe I'll just put 1 and 2. So directory does not matter, as long as, yeah, the directory does not matter because it's always just gonna put it into the same directory. So that's the next command. And then the last command is to put it on your clipboard so you can paste it. So once that's good, so those 1, 2, 3, those are the order of commands to execute right after you see like the fingerprint. So there's something I do need to check. Test for SSH. What is this eval? Okay, because this should work. Just like you're just typing that exact thing. No, there's no extra equals or anything. And this should be in the git bash. Okay, good. Okay. So that's that command, and then the SSH add, just exactly that. Just the SSH add and that portion, not the two dot. I just put the 2 there just to denote the order in the sequence. Right. So okay. So did you, Helen? Did you clip the thing? So you ran the third command as well. So that puts it on the clipboard. Okay, perfect. Okay. So clip 1 is not found. That's strange because this. So it'll be exactly this one. I think if there's no. Okay, I think for setup issues, so we'll take that up during lab for. There's the clip. Interesting. Okay, so I think for setup issues, we'll cover that during lab. But just so in this lecture, I do want to have everything there, just so like the recording covers everything. So I'm going to continue, but during lab we can go over that. So hopefully, once that would be working, what you'll actually do is you'll go to your GitHub, and I will. So it's on my. Personal GitHub. So I'm gonna here. I'm gonna share my screen. Everyone can see that. So this is my GitHub. And you will go to settings. And you will go to here, SSH and GPG keys. Okay. And you'll click here, new SSH key. And so I'm just gonna put my username. And this is where you copy, this is where you're gonna paste the key that you use the clip command to copy. So I'm just gonna do that. And then I'm gonna save that. Okay, perfect. That should say something like key is saved. And now let's test that key. Let's hope this works. So now what I'm going to do, there's a specific command I can use. And let's see. So you can do, it's called SSH and then t git at github.com. Now I'm also going to copy and paste this command in the chat for everybody. But for people who have issues in setup, don't worry, this lab period is just going to be for like setup. So we're going to be helping set this up. Yeah. All right, so let's test this. Okay, so I've said, okay, I've successfully authenticated, but GitHub does not provide shell access. So that is fine, but my repos should still work, hopefully. Okay, so let's actually make a repository and try this out. So we went through setting up, downloading Git, setting up our username and email, and also setting up SSH. So now we can actually clone repos. So let's try this now. So let's go to GitHub, and I'm going to move my screen here as well. Let's make a new repo, and let's call it lecture 28. So this is a test repo for the class. Let's make it private. And sure, let's make a README. Yes, so if they send you a message, are you sure you want to continue? That should be fine. They might give you, I'm assuming, do they give you like key fingerprints?
Yes.
Just in case, check this site and check if the keys are the same.
Okay.
If any of the keys that you see that they're authenticating are like one of these here, one of these keys, just to be safe that it is actually GitHub. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is GitHub regardless, but yeah. All right, so does anyone know like how I got here? I'll just go back. So I just went to like right when you log in, you can even go to repositories and I just hit new. And now I can make a repo. So let's say I want the name to be lecture 28. This is a test repo for the class lecture. I'll make it private. I'll even add, sure, let's add a README. So README is just a markdown file that you can have a little bit of information about what is there. But yeah, let's just create this repo. Okay, perfect. So this is our repo. Branches, this is something we're going to cover very shortly. But yeah, this is our repo. And this is our main branch. Like this is the default branch. This is what we're going to start on. We will make some new branches very soon. All right, so let's actually first clone this repo. So to do that, I just drop down on this code and I click under this SSH and I can copy this. Now, I'll open up this terminal. I'm actually going to do it here. So I'm going to clone this into, let's delete this file. I'm going to clone this into this lectures directory. So I'll just do git clone. And then paste it here. Yeah, so for adding SSH key to GitHub, I just went to my settings here and I click this SSH and GPG keys. And well, I mean, you can already see it, but I'll just click this new SSH key. And then in the thing that opens, I paste it in like, there's like a text box and then you add it that way. Yeah. So I hope that was how that was covered. All right. So I'm just about to clone this repo into my lecture. So let's try that. Hopefully this works. Perfect, so it worked. And notice how, so let's say I actually want to go into lecture 28. Now you see this main here. This is my branch. This is the branch I'm on. I'm on the main branch. And this is my lecture 28. So let's actually check right now. So you can use this command git status to check the status of current changes. So right now, there are no changes. There's nothing to commit. We'll go into commits a bit later. So my branch is up to date with origin main. So there's the origin or the remote repository. Its branch main is the same as my branch main. We're up to date. We're in sync. Now, if I make a new file here, just call it lecture.js. I'm going to console log hello here. Notice even how it's now like green because there now have been some changes. So if I type git status here, it says my branch is up to date, but I have some untracked files. And I'm going to use git add to include. So first, what we do is first we add files. So I do git add, and then I'm going to use a period. So git space add space dot or period. And what that does is it adds all the files that are untracked. So if I check my status again, it says that changes to be committed. So I need to commit these before I actually push them. So now I type git commit, and then I make a message, a -m, and then in quotations, I'll put my message here. So I am uploading lecture content, and then close quotations. So now I'm making a commit. This is the name of the commit 7b57 and so on, and I'm committing to this branch. So it's one file change and more specifically one line insertion, right? So if I now check the status, because I've made the commit, it says my branch, so my local branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. So what that means is that my local branch has one commit that the origin main does not have. So and it even says you use git push to publish. So let's do that. Git push. Perfect. So now I have pushed these changes to my main branch. And I'll show what that looks like. Now there's also something you can do, git log. Now notice this git log actually, it'll put all the most recent commits in this like log here. So this is my initial commit. So we can see here that what was it? Just basically just a few minutes ago, or not too long ago. This was my initial commit. So this is like when I was cloning that. The first commit when I created the repository, that's like one commit. So when I clone this, it came with this. Now the commit I just made is also right here that I just made like 2 minutes ago. And this commit, remember my message, I'm uploading lecture content. And then the author as well, the date. So this log just shows like, it's basically a log of most recent commits made. And if I now, so I pushed it, so now it should be up to date. And let's actually check that. I go here. So this is my repo. Now, of course, you don't see it at first, but let me just refresh that. And now you see lecture.js. So now we have this change here. All right. So I hope that was clear. Does anyone have any questions on like how that process worked? Feel free to raise your hand and unmute. I can take questions. If no one has questions on, I guess, what I was showing. Okay, sure, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, let's make another change. So from SSH key, okay. So I guess you have the SSH key like saved, so you can clone it, right? Okay, I'm going to start off at, I'm gonna like, okay, so I'm going to, so SSH key, if there are any issues with setting that up, I mean, that's fine, but that is something I'll have to take up during lab, so I can't take that up right now. But what I can do, there is enough time, I can very quickly review how I got to this point of like cloning the repo. Okay. So I went to this thing. We'll make some more changes. So this repo, this has been updated. I created it earlier, but I put a new file on here with a console log, right? Is everybody following along just with this idea? I'm going to start over with cloning repos. Please type in the chat if you're following along. Because if you don't type, I'm just going to continue. And then, your questions, I will not be able to address your questions now, right? Yeah, okay, so I guess for the few people who are typing, so we can, okay, yeah, so we can take that up during lab because that is specific to this, but everybody else, because I only see like 4 people typing, is everybody else started following along, or at least just with this idea? Okay, so I think what we'll do is for setup questions, we'll take that up during lab, but so I'm going to continue with this so this is there on the recording. All right. So this is my current setup for my repo. I'll click this drop down code, and then I'm going to copy the SSH. Now this works if you do have that set up. I'm going to go to my terminal here, and I want to clone the repo into. I want to clone my repo into this directory lectures. So there should be in lectures, lecture 28, okay? And now notice how here I have lecture.js and readme.md. the version I cloned is going to have everything here. So both of these, right? Perfect. So let's say I want to make a change. Let's say console.log my first repo. So now I have added 2 lines to this file. So if I can type git status. Oh, whoops. Right. See, so the reason why it says not a Git repository, I'm not in the right path. So I need to go into the actual Git repository, which is in lecture 28. Right. And it'll even say here, you'll know that it's a Git repo when it puts something like this. It'll say main. So I'm in the main branch. So git status, perfect. So it says, I have not staged a change for commit. So to stage a change, I first need to add the file. Now in this case, I'm adding all files. And then what I do is I'm going to commit this. So git commit -m to give it a message. And I'll say like, this is my second commit. Perfect. So 3 insertions, 1 deletion. Okay, 1 file changed. Now, if I git status, my current branch is ahead of origin main by 1 commit, right? Because I have this commit that I just made. This is my second commit. So I've made that commit that my remote repo does not have. So if I push, that'll update my remote repo with these changes. And we can just double check that up here. I refresh this, I click this, and now notice I have this extra line here. So that's how it keeps track of that. All right, so, whoops. Yeah, so you need to change, if you want to clone something, you're going to have to change the HTTPS to SSH. Now, if SSH is not set up, I think you can still continue. You can just use HTTPS. Let me actually search that up. What is the command for that? I think it might just be git clone as well. So you can just do git clone and then, or the SSH, the address, which you can copy from that on the clipboard. So there's a clipboard, so you can copy that. I'm pretty sure the clone command will work for both. So even if you don't have SSH set up, you can also continue, just by using that. All right, so clear that. Yeah, you can add an empty folder. The thing is, you want to go into that repo, so you're like, it'll even say here, so you're inside. You can add an empty folder. I would actually add an empty file because I don't think it'll notice empty folder as a change. So it has to be a file. All right, so now we're going to get into branching. Now you probably noticed that on the version there, it had like main, right? And it said main branch. So main branch is the default branch. It's the best way of thinking about it. Now imagine, let's say for an analogy, let's say you like, oh, I don't know, Super Mario or something, right? And let's say your friend actually has this game and they've been playing it. Now, let's say you load your friend's save game here. And let's say you play a bunch on it, right? And you want to save your progress, but this is your friend's save, right? You don't want to overwrite it. So what you do is you create a new save file. It's kind of like branching, because your friend, this is your friend's, right? Like your friend, right? But this is you, and you are at this point here. Your friend is still here, but you've made a separate save game starting from their point, starting from their load. And it's almost like you've made a separate branch going this way. So it's a very similar analogy. If I have my main branch and, let's say I'm working on a project with some friends and we decide, okay, my friend tells me, okay, Aleem, we're going to stop working today, but if you can on Saturday work on something, let's say some function, and you can get that done on Saturday, then we'll work on something else on Sunday. But we want you to get that merged in. So I'll say, okay, I will check out a new branch. So this is the main branch. I will check out a new branch. Let's call this Aleem's branch, right? And I will keep working on this on Saturday until Saturday ends. And then what I'll do is I'll make a pull request, which all that is a request to merge my branch, which has sort of the branch had shot off the main branch. So I have all the information that's on the main branch, but I've kept working on that. And I've only been pushing changes to my branch, Aleem branch, right? So main branch is exactly the same, right? Once I'm done working on my branch, I make what's called a pull request to merge it's a request to merge my changes back into main branch. Now, if that pull request is accepted, then main branch now has all the changes that I have been working on. And so this is the aspect of collaboration we're talking about. Like, you can have multiple people in a repository. And so then what you can do is you can be like, okay, we need everybody to agree on these changes before they get merged back into the main branch. So you can sort of isolate, you can have people do different tasks on different branches and then merge those into main branch. And you'll use GitHub has some functionality for merge requests to check if everything's still running and if there are no conflicts, merge conflicts, that's a term we use for that. So this is a PR request, and it'll have the format of something like this. It'll even say like main, and then it'll put an arrow, Aleem. And so what this means is this pull request, it's going to look like this. It's saying, I want to merge changes from Aleem into main branch. And so once that's accepted, then I can go back to the main branch and you can just continue from there. So is this idea clear for everybody? Like this idea of having more than one branch and that you can work on different branches and then use pull requests to merge changes from other branches into the main branch, which is, I guess the main could be like essentially the working code, the up-to-date working code that, let's say, is deployed. I know we have some issues with setup, but is the concept clear? Because setup is something like that's something we can work on during lab. We can get that working for everybody, but having this idea conceptually is very important. All right, so if everybody is okay with that, let's actually turn this. I will even screenshot this. Let's turn this and I'll screenshot it and I'll put it on the in the chat. Let's turn this into actual, wait, what's going on here? Close that. Okay, so I just screenshotted that. I'm gonna clear the annotations. And let's actually try this out in the code. So what I'm gonna first do, I'm gonna check out, so we would start, let's actually just first see what branches we have. So we only have one branch, and I use the git branch command to check that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out a branch. That's the term for making a new branch and switching to that branch. And let's call this branch, let us call it function. So notice it says we've switched, and it also says here, this is now function. So let's make a small change. Let's actually write a function. Function, and let's say print my name. And console.log, my name is name. And let's run this function, print my name, or let's do a function call. That's it. All we've done is print a name. So, okay, so I'm going to add that change. I'm going to commit this change. So I have added a print my name function. And let's push these changes. Okay, so this is an interesting thing here. We need to specify where we're pushing this to, because the idea is that we've just made the branch locally, this function branch. It doesn't have it's not connected to anything in the remote repo. So we have to set this. There's this command. It's just git push set upstream origin function. So the idea is that I'm setting the upstream, or I'm setting the remote repository to be function. Okay. And so now when it auto pushes it, and it just says that I've pushed to a function branch. So, and it says here branch function set up to track origin/function. So origin is again the remote repo. And remember before it was like origin/main. Now it's origin/function. And if we go here, see now we have two branches, and it even says function had recent pushes. So now I can even see here, I now have a function branch, and I think the best way to notice this, so this is what this branch looks like. If I go to my function branch, it's exactly the same, but this file is different. And now I have these changes in here, right? So that's one difference. Now, let's close that. What I can do is I can create a pull request, and we actually will go into, so it's often easier to just use GitHub system for handling pull requests. So I'll just click pull requests, and I'll click. Now here it literally just tells me that, okay, this had recent pushes, so maybe I can do that. But I'll just click this new pull request. So what I'm doing here is this arrow, like, so this means from this merge into this. So base and compare. So compare, I will do function. So what this means is I'm going to merge changes from function into main. And so here it's just a little bit of a color-coded difference between these two files. So notice how lecture.js, this is what it looks like in my main branch, and this is what it looks like in my function branch. So it looks to me like one line is deleted and then a bunch is added. 7 additions and 1 deletion. At least that's what it considers as being deletions. So let's create this pull request. Okay, so here I would just put comment. You can even assign pull requests to people who are your collaborators. You can assign people to review them. You can put labels. So like, it's a very useful tool. Let's create this pull request. Perfect. So here, there are no conflicts, so we can just auto merge it. Now, if there are conflicts, you will have to resolve those conflicts. You'll have to like click that here, and there will be a pop-up. Basically, it'll have the files, and you'll have to like manually make some adjustments there to fix that. Now, usually we probably won't have that issue, but if it does come up, it's not too difficult to fix that. We can even make an example of that for tomorrow's lecture. Using this tool to do it. So now we can just merge it. Now, what I like to do is I like to click this drop down and click squash and merge. And the reason why I'm doing this is if we just create a merge commit, we just do this. What happens is that if like, remember the example I showed here? Let me pull this example. Now this, maybe I made like 50 commits while I was working independently on my own branch. So if I just did this, if I just did create a merge commit, if I just did this and merged it, all those 50 commits would show up in my main, like the version history for my main branch. So what I'm going to do instead is say squash and merge. So I would squash all those 50 commits into one merge commit, and it would just say Aleem's branch has been merged. It just keeps the commit history a little bit cleaner to squash and merge. Okay, confirm squash and merge. Perfect. So we can delete it because it's been merged, but I'm not going to do that. So now let's see. So now notice here, I have added print name function, and it even has the number one. So that is my first PR has been merged, our first pull request. And if I go in here, now I can see this. All right, but if we do this, so let's see. Let's switch to main. And notice how if I switch to main locally, I don't have those changes. That's because my local version is behind what I have remote. So what I can do is I can just do a git pull, and I will get all those changes. All right. So I hope that concept was clear. We will be starting lab in about 10 minutes. So we will, if anybody has any issues with like setup, feel free to, we will be, feel free to come to lab with questions, and we can definitely help out with that. Does anyone have any questions about like the idea of branches and what we were sort of doing with making additional branches and using pull requests to merge our changes back onto like the main, I guess the main code or our main branch, which has all our code up to date that we know works? Does anybody have any questions about that concept? For sure. So what I'm actually going to do also, I'm going to find a version of setup for Mac and for Windows, and I will actually put those videos in the links to those videos in the lab just in case, because I do think getting the setup earlier is better. And sometimes, waiting for the lecture recording to show up, it might take a bit of time. So I'm actually going to do that as well. So just where we have our lab, I'm also going to put a link to setup for Mac and setup for Windows. In fact, I would actually, you know what? I already have a link for ChatGPT. So I would strongly recommend so sometimes even it might say access denied. I'd say try cloning it one more time, git clone with the same SSH. Because sometimes I also get that. And when I do it a second time, it works. So I have a link to ChatGPT, and I would actually highly recommend sort of using that as a tool to get immediate feedback if you cannot get feedback right away in the lab. Like if we can't help you right away, you can use ChatGPT, ask it questions. This is my setup. I'm using Windows. I want to install Git, and then I want to set up SSH, and then I want to guide me through making a new repository and cloning it. So if we can't get to you right away during lab, we highly recommend using and becoming familiar with using this tool. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop the screen share and we'll come back in about 10 minutes and we'll start the lab. So I'm just gonna restart the recording, just so anybody who has like issues with setup, feel free to share your screen and we can actually, we'll have it in the recording as well, because then it'll help everybody who has any issues with setup. So yeah, if anyone has questions on setup, feel free to raise your hands and we can get to your questions. All right, awesome. Hannah, feel free to share your screen.
Okay, just a minute. So far. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see your screen. Awesome.
I already create a repo here, but once I try to clone it, it's give me, like, let me show it to you. Yes, I go to it just to make sure it's repo, and I just copy this path.
Oh, you have to click SS. You have the SSH set up?
I think so. Let me
Okay, so it's as long as it's in the
yeah, you
in
mean
the
you mean the SSH from here? This one?
yeah, so if it's in
Yeah,
there.
it's already set up. Yeah, if you can see it, it's there.
Okay, perfect.
Right?
All right, so
Yeah.
the
But
one thing you need to change
yes,
is that in the test, you have to click the SSH on there's like a button there. It might already be clicked.
yeah, it's already clicked.
Okay.
It's not HTTP, it's SSH. There.
Okay, perfect.
I copy it. Then once I go there, I write git clone. Let me just write it to show it to you. Okay, git. Let me clear it just to let you see. Just a minute. Oh, sorry. Okay. Git clone. Then I just paste the path. Okay, it's cloning, but you appear to have clone an empty repository. That's the thing that I'm shocked. I already can see it here on my file.
Right.
It's test, but it's an empty. I
think it works, but it's just saying it's empty. It's like a warning. So try CDing into it.
Okay, CD to test it. Test.
Yeah.
Okay, then W. Okay, sorry. I'm there. If you can see it, I am already. Yes.
It's interesting. It should say, so type in like git status, git space status.
Git space. Just like this.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, you're in the repo. It's just saying, yeah, it's just a warning that there's nothing in it.
But I tried to write git add readme, like how read.
Oh, so if you want to add a file, you would have to type something like, you could do like that, because Git, there is no README file that exists in the repo, so that's why it's saying that error. So you could do this bash command, touch space readme.md, and that'll create a README file.
Okay.
And then if you type git add, it'll, yeah.
It's like,
let's try that.
Okay, let me try it. Touch, then readme.md. Okay, once I
Perfect. So that
it's there.
Yeah, so now we have that.
There. Yeah, I can see it there. Okay, even if I want to create a GS file, the same thing, use touch, for example, but let's say new.js like this. Oh,
you could do that, or you could also, it might be easier to open like the file in that repo, because it might be easier just to have on the side open and then just use the right click to create files. Because I noticed like here you have all your lectures are like they're all there, right? So it might be hard to see it. Yeah. So you could do that, or you could reopen the VS Code in that folder test.
Yeah, I can add, like, right click
Or
new
yeah, you
file.
can.
I can do it.
Yep,
Like here,
exactly,
then
yeah.
just write it like new.js. Okay, so but this is
Exactly.
gonna be in my repo now. Once I refresh it, I should see it here.
So you have to add, commit, and then push the changes.
Add. Then
So you have to you type in git add and then period.
add, then period.
Yeah. And
Uh,
notice now it'll say that these files have been added to, right? Actually, it might not say that, because if you type in git status, you can type in again git status.
Okay, let me get status. Okay. Oh,
And
okay.
see, it says changes to be committed. So these changes, these new files have been added, but you need to create a commit.
Create
You
a
have to
commit.
do, yeah. So you would write the command git commit, and then in quotations you put the message. So git commit -m
Dash
and
like
space. Yeah, and then another space, and then you make the quotations. And in the quotations you put the message, like whatever message you want.
hello, this is my repo, for example.
Yep, that works. And then
The enter. That's
so you just press enter. Exactly. Yeah.
create.
And now note, so these have been made to your main branch. And then if you just do git push, yeah, git status, it says upstream is gone. Okay, because there is no upstream. So before, when I made it, I created the repo with something in it, and then I cloned that. So there was an upstream. So when you push, so if you type in git push, git space push, it might
Yeah.
tell you to set upstream, and you press enter. Or maybe it works. Okay, so it worked perfect. And now if you refresh this page,
Okay.
now you have this changes. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, thank you so much, Aline.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Samina, feel free to share your screen.
Yes, okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, I can see your screen.
Okay, so I have Bash over here, and if I go over here, I don't know, just so mine is a Mac, and it says that it has been installed. Okay, hold on, yeah, it says shell integration activated. Bash
Okay.
with Visual
So when you
Studio.
installed Git, it integrated that into the existing Bash.
I did not
You can
install
use
Git. I did not install Git because, the way you were saying that maybe in Mac it's already there. So I did not want to override anything with, what I already have.
Okay.
But when I in my system it didn't, I could not do anything so far. I did do the git config global with a username. I put my name. It says no developer tools were found. Okay, sorry, I installed over here, and then it says not in a git directory. So how do I get into a git directory?
So I think you might need to type git config and then -- list with 2 dashes, because I see there's 1 dash in the commands you wrote above.
Okay.
No. So type in git config. I just want to see first if something works. So just type in git config
Just git
and then
config.
2 dashes list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Git config and then
And,
space with 2 dashes.
or yeah, just 2 dashes and then list.
And then list.
Let's see if it should list some info. Okay, good. So it has some credentials for your Git. So now, yeah, so now you would basically do the same git config, the global user.name with the 2 dashes, and make sure there's a space between the user.name and then your actual GitHub username.
Oh, okay.
And that should hopefully work.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the same thing with email, and yeah, the actual GitHub email. And then what we'll try doing after that
Okay,
is just to double check that those have
user
set
dot
properly.
email, user dot email, and then space always, right? At the
Yeah.
Samina,
And then
gmail.com. Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then just to check, we'll do git config and then user dot name. I just want to see if it prints out the name.
Like just user dot name like
Yeah,
this.
user dot name. And it should say Samina there.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So it's been saved, yeah. And then I think as far as so I think what I will do is I will actually take you to a breakout room and do the next bit, because the
Okay.
the
The
keygen that
RSS.
we make it's private. Like we don't want that on recording. In fact, I think, yeah. So what I'll do is we can go to I'll open some breakout rooms and we can go to that. And, all right, so I'm just going to invite you to that room. All right, so now we'll head to
Stop
that
and
room.
join.
Yeah.
Over here, stop and join.
Stop
Right?
sharing. Yeah. Right. And I'll let Yaman, I'll let you take over here. If anyone has questions and it gets to like the key, generating the key, you should also do the same, because I just don't want to have like the private key in the recording.
Yes, sure. So, Helen, do you have any questions?
Hi.
Hi, hello.
The last part that I got stuck on was like clip, and then should I just share my screen?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. Do you see that?
Yep. Okay, so you have clip and then
And then I don't know what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to like bring you the key, right? Because I did. Is this the key or?
This is Windows, right? Okay. Why are you using clip?
I don't know.
Okay, so what are you trying to achieve then?
I'm trying to get the key to put into this GitHub.
Okay. So when you do when you link your local repository with the report one,
Mhm.
there should be a prompt telling you that, okay, please enter your email and password. So
Yeah, I did.
okay.
I did the username. And then
Yeah. What about the password?
I left it empty.
Okay. So instead of the password, you should add the key.
So where do I start from now?
Okay, let's
Write cat, then the command that I sent it on the chat, then copy that one to create the SSH key. This is how it should work.
The cat?
Can you see it that I send it on the,
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so
then run
I
it?
just paste it right here.
Yes, run it just on the command. No, write Control-C to kill
yeah,
that
you
one.
should exit
Yes, then write the cat.
Oh, whoops.
Yes. Yes, copy this one, all of this one. Did you see the output? Copy it, all of it, including the SSH. Yes. All of it. Did you copy the SSH?
Oh,
Uh, yes. Yeah. No, don't copy the cat, just the SSH. Yes. Copy all of it till the .com. Then paste it on the, can you go to SSH key on GitHub? Yes, create a new key. No, the other one, the SSH, the upper one, not the GPG. Just write, okay, got it. Click on, okay, got it. Then the SSH, yes. Then paste it down. Did you see the key? Yes, paste it there. Name it whatever you want, the title, then just create it. It should work.
and that's it.
This is how you create the SSH key. Then you're gonna create a repo. Yes, you created.
Oh, okay. Now what? I kind of got lost.
Go create a repo.
Repo?
Yes.
Okay.
Like a repository, if you go to the top right, you can find yeah, you can go there and click on the plus button at the top, or you can click new. Yeah.
And what do I do with this?
So the repository is where you put your files. It's like, you can say, a folder that contains your files. So you can just, for now, you can just add a name, and description is optional. And then,
What is this file for? Like, what are we putting in it?
yeah, so as you know, like we already have wrote code, and we have like a program running on our machine. So we want to upload or push this program to GitHub, to the remote repository.
Like the game we created earlier, or
We can create a new one from, like, a fresh one, or we can like
oh,
assign.
like the assignment,
Yeah.
like this one, or
This is like the first I don't know. I meant the code. Like, imagine you have a code in your machine. You have like JavaScript files, HTML, CSS files, and you want to collaborate with other developers. So you create a new repository online using GitHub on the cloud, and you upload your files there. And like other developers would collaborate with you through this repository.
are we already collaborating with other people, or
No, we're doing this for training, just for, like, how GitHub works, because GitHub, like, each I mean, in industry and everywhere, when there's like multiple people collaborate in development, they would use GitHub or something similar, but GitHub is like the most famous. So
okay.
we're just learning about GitHub. So, like, as an example, you can just create a repository and give it some name. There's many options. You can make it public, you can make it private, you can add description. So repository name is how would you like name your project, you can say. So let's say you can call it up to you, like exact first project. But if you notice there's a warning, the name shouldn't have spaces. So a suggestion here to have, okay, that's also possible, public or private. And the other options, like, they're more advanced. I mean, not that much, but yeah, for now you just need, okay, you can make it private. It's up to you again. So private is you can only commit, public is many, there's also permissions. Okay, you can just create a repository. And now you have your repository created, and it's not initialized yet. So we need to initialize it. And there's these three ways. You can import code, like you can create a new repository here. You can start it from scratch on the cloud.
Wait, so where do I go now?
Um,
Sorry, I got kind of lost.
yeah, that it's okay. It's okay. I mean, because this is maybe the first time you're looking at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So when you have this, when you create your first repository, like this folder,
Mhm.
you have three options. Like this is from GitHub. So you either create a new repository from scratch on
Okay.
GitHub. Like you start, it's like, imagine you create a new file. Like imagine you are on like the Windows and you click new folder. Sorry. Imagine you are having a new folder. So what we have done here is just we created a new folder.
Yeah.
And we want to add our code to this folder. So we have three ways to do this. We either import code. Yeah, this is the last option. So this option is if you have another repository, you could use this option. But we don't have another. This is your first project, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have another repository. So this option isn't possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go back, so you have two options. The first one is to create a new repository in the command line. So you go locally to your machine and create a new repository on your machine, like it's empty, or you can push an existing code.
Yeah.
So the question now is, do you have an existing code that you want to push online?
No, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I mean this you have coding in color folder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this could be your repository. So one way to do this is
they're not that bad.
To
They're still not better than that.
open the command line. So tomorrow we will talk about the command line. I think Alim also today talked about the command line. So if you go to the command line.
Wait, which is the command line?
Okay, so the command line, if you go to the search bar of Windows.
Like on.
Exactly, and then click CMD. Command prompt in Windows, it's called. So this is the command line or the command prompt or the terminal. It has many names, bash, shell. Each has a different meaning, but we can just call it command line. This is how we interact with the computer using text, you can say. I mean, not text, using commands. And these commands are called bash. I think Alim also talked about this today, like pwd, ls, and so on. So Windows has different commands. Anyway, we're not gonna talk with Windows now. We're gonna talk with GitHub, right?
Yeah.
But we need to create a folder. So we need to change the location of our cursor. So as you can see now, your location is C users Helen, right?
Yeah.
So you are in this directory, and
I go to CD.
exactly. So we want to go to coding in color folder that you have all the files in.
Oh. Whoops.
Okay, so
I don't know why it's not working.
yeah, so in Windows, like the command to see what if you type dir, like dir, dir directory, This command tells you list of files under users under this and under this
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, exactly, users headed. Okay, so you have these folders and files. So we want to go to coding in color. So in the graphical user interface, when you use the mouse, how would you go there? Like, how would you open the coding in color folder that you have opened on VS Code now?
Like you double click on it.
But where is the folder located?
In VS Code.
Okay, so you're opening the folder using VS Code, but you have it somewhere, like maybe on the desktop.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's on the desktop, then we need to go there.
So CD desktop or what?
Exactly, but I can't see a desktop under users. User element.
So OneDrive? Would it be OneDrive?
It should be. Let me check where Windows. It should be here, but yeah, if you just hover over coding in color, like the folder, exactly. So you'd have it. Okay, you have it on OneDrive. Okay. So you have it on the cloud already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we just locating for now where the file is located, or I'm confused?
Okay, so you're using OneDrive, and OneDrive is a cloud server from Microsoft Cloud Service, where you upload your files to a cloud, like what we are doing now. So we want to take the files from OneDrive cloud to GitHub cloud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can just CD, like change directory and go to OneDrive documents, Adobe VS Code.
On this?
Yeah. So you have CD and then you can type one and you can click tab. You don't need to type everything, like, because yeah, tab. Okay, it's one should be capital, exactly. There's slash or backslash, I'm not sure. Yeah, slash. And then I think documents. Is it documents? Oh no, not this one. Like is it this one? The thing is, I don't use Windows, so okay, the backslash. Yeah, it's the backslash. You're correct.
You can use the command line in the VS Code. It's already because located on her files.
That's also possible, right? Yeah. Thank you. So we can go to so we can go to VS Code. Like normal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just go to VS Code, and then there is a command line already, like if you can see on the terminal, like below, we have a command line. Yeah. Can you please okay, so you have the bash here, and we are already in VS coding. Okay, now here we can use Unix based commands. Okay, so we can type PWD. Let's look at the current location, PWD.
PWD. Whoops. It just brought me the same thing.
Okay, so we are at VS Code.
Are we trying to open this one, or what are we trying to do?
Then she can clone it here. Like you can clone your repos here on this. Just write git clone, then the path that you have it. That's it. Or push like what Yaman says.
Yeah, like clone is clone with
How would I clone
you can copy.
this? Sorry, I'm making it so confusing.
Go to GitHub.
Okay.
Yes. Select SSH. Can you see SSH? HTTPs, then SSH. No. Scroll
Yeah.
up. In the
Yeah.
blue box. You have quick setup on the blue box in the middle.
Oh,
Yes. Click on SSH. Then go till the end. There is a copy. Yes. Copy it. Go to now to VS Code.
I click clone. All right.
Yes. Then write git clone. Then paste the git clone. No. First you should write git clone.
oh, whoops. Oh my god. Okay.
Git clone. Git space clone. Then paste the link that you already copy it, so don't worry about it. Just write git clone.
Here? Wait, where?
Yeah, down. Yeah, right. git get space get not yes space clone space. No. Wait. Right. Git clone.
Yeah.
Yes. Clone space. Then paste Control V, paste the link that you already, yes, then run it. You're gonna clone it. Yes, right, yes. Just try, yes, exactly. Yes, you already clone it. It's first project, can you see it? It's the last one.
Yeah.
Left side, that's it.
Okay, now what?
Now you have first project on your local machine, and if you go to GitHub, you would see some changes. You would see an empty. If you refresh the page, you should have an empty repository. Okay, that it's still empty. So if you go to the first project folder and create a file there, like on VS Code. Yeah. If you open first project, and then if you go to the top, yeah, exactly, create a new folders. And if you now save, and then on the terminal, or maybe you can add something inside the file. Just add like any code or something, so we can look at it. Like yeah,
console
also log hello world, for instance. Okay, save, and then on the terminal below, you can first
show that.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this as u means okay, we need to add commit and then push. So if you go to the terminal below and click git add,
Like that.
and space, then dot. So you add everything, then enter.
Said
Okay,
fail, not a git
Uh,
repository.
maybe you need to, you need to change the directory. We need to go to first project first. So we need to go to first project. Okay, now we are there. As you can see, it's the main branch. So now git add dot. Okay, now git commit. And
Like that.
yeah, and you just need to add like exactly commit COMMIT and add a message. So I sent I sent the command on the chat if you want.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's git commit.
Oh.
So M means message. So I want to commit this, but I want to add a message so I know what this commit was for. So this commit is for hi. So
Wait, what's comment? Is it supposed to be comment?
commit is like you record your changes. So
Enable.
okay, it says here author identity unknown. Please tell me who you are. Yeah, let's run git config global username. So we add our username and password to the
Why does it say get comment not found?
there shouldn't be a space between the two dashes and the global.
Oh. Still not working.
Okay, command that found. Should be get.
Oh, I wasn't even typing it right.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh no.
I think if you just put close the quotation.
Yeah.
Oh no, you might need to just hit Q to because it'll put all of that in the email. Or Control C, maybe. Okay, okay.
Okay, that's done.
And then I guess for setting name, do something very similar. Also, if anybody else has questions, feel free to raise your hand and I can take you to a breakout room. You can also go over those as well.
Oh,
Okay,
so-
awesome.
Okay, now you can
Okay, that's done, right?
okay, now we need to do the commit. This is what gave us the error, right?
Yeah.
You can find it in the chat if you.
Okay, so that's done. Now what?
Okay, so now if you go to GitHub, okay, before that we have commit. Okay, we not yet, sorry. So we have made the changes, we have recorded the changes. Commit says, okay, we have recorded the changes. And now we need to push these changes from the local repository, which is first project here, to the remote repository. And we do this using git push.
Okay. Like that.
Okay, yep. Okay, it's done. Now let's go to GitHub. And refresh the page now. As you can see, you have first.js folder. This is the commit name, like hi. This is, if you remember the git commit -m, then we have the message, which we call it hi. This is the message. And then if you click on for first.js, you would have the code console.log. This is a file, JS file, and many developers could work on this and collaborate.
Okay, so this will be important for the group projects. Okay.
This could be, yeah, I mean, if when you work in groups, that GitHub would be very helpful, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. Okay, any more questions? Harina?
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm struggling with the Mac installation for this Bash. Bash. So I haven't been following up because I wasn't able to get that one right. Can I share screen?
Okay, I'll try my best to help you with Mac because I'm not a user of Mac, but yeah, please share your screen.
Okay. So I'll just share the desktop. Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I have this one, and there was somebody before who had this and it was working for her.
Mhm.
But I think what you put here is I forgot this one, right? The git config list, or there's something else to check if it's working.
To check if it's working, you can type git status.
Status?
Yeah, like git status.
Oh, git.
Okay, so it says not a git repositories, then you haven't assigned you haven't made this a repository yet. Okay, let's
What does that mean, please?
so I'm wondering, have you created a repository on GitHub?
I haven't done anything like
Okay.
this because I was just following the lecture, but I wasn't doing anything anywhere.
Oh, okay. So you can so Alim did the lecture today and you didn't follow.
The problem is
Yeah.
he said that we can download for Mac users. He said it was different. And so he gave the instruction to download for the other like non-Mac users. And he did send a link to download for the Mac ones, but I didn't know which one to press. I forgot which one it was even, but I didn't know which one to press. So he did send a link to for the Mac users, but it wasn't like the specific bash one. There were
Okay.
some other stuff. It wasn't like the exact one for non-Mac. And he actually said, I think if I'm not wrong, that you were gonna come because you were the Mac user and
Oh.
to help the stuff like this. If I'm not wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, we have talked about this. Okay, anyway, you can let's open if you open the browser and download bash first.
Okay. So what do I
Yeah.
press here?
Like if you type git bash.
Get Mac. Should I say Mac?
Yes, that's also possible, but we need to go to the
This one.
okay, this one. Yep. If you open this is the official place to download git bash. So you
Yeah,
need
so
to
he
hold-
did send us this
okay,
this
so
part, but I didn't know which one to click.
okay. Okay, can you please expand the screen?
Yes, please.
Please, thank you. So okay, you can do it in any of those ways. You can do it using Homebrew. So first, let's go and install Homebrew. Okay, you can copy this.
This one?
Yeah. And you can open the terminal and just have it, just paste it on.
Oh, so I
Yeah.
open this and then I go to VS Code?
You go to the terminal and you just
Okay.
paste it there. So this is a software to download other softwares.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So yeah, VS Code, we can use VS Code terminal, yeah.
So you just open a new one just in case. So I paste it here,
Yes.
or should I first click this one, or I just paste without clicking?
For now, you can do without
Just-
clicking.
Just paste. Enter.
Password.
Password. I put the password for the computer.
Yes. For the root user, yeah.
Okay.
I think it wouldn't be shared. It's gonna be
Yeah, it's not working. I'm trying to click in the like keyboard, but nothing is.
yeah, it's not gonna show. It's working, but there wouldn't be any, you wouldn't see anything. So if you just delete everything and just type the password and click enter.
Okay. I'll try again. Okay.
Okay, now we have Homebrew installed. Now we need to use brew to install Git. So we just type brew. Press okay to continue. Okay, now we just type brew, install Git.
Brew.
Yeah.
Like this.
Exactly. Brew install and then Git.
Like this.
Yeah.
So enter.
Okay, commanded file of brew. So we have downloaded brew, but it's not on the path. Can you go back to brew and to homebrew install?
So I click, like I type homebrew install.
No. Just let's go to the website to where we
Oh,
have
the
uploaded it.
website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here if you okay, it says paste with the Mac OS, and then explains what we will do, then pauses. Okay, okay, let's can you scroll down, please? Do they have any instructions? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I'm not familiar with Mac, but this is, I mean, it happens when you download something, when you download a new software, you need to add, they call it add the command to the path. So I would recommend searching online.
Okay.
For now, and I can come back to you when there's no one raising their hand. So if you just go back and check what's okay, if you check online, what should I do after install brew? Why the command isn't showing? And then once you do that, then brew install Git, and maybe at that time you can raise your hand again and we can look at it.
Okay, okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Habiba. You have questions? Anyone has a question? No questions? Uh, Do you have questions? Suganti?
Hi, yeah, I'm just trying to set up the GitHub, but I'm stuck at some point because I just joined that I had to leave.
Okay.
Shall I share my screen?
Yes, sure.
Can you see my screen now?
Okay.
So what do I enter here? Like enter file in which to save the key?
So have you generated the SSH key, SSH key, and
So I have to enter SSH key.
you have the SSH key. You've generated the SSH key, but you need to save it on a file.
Okay.
So I think file name here. Alim.
I have to write Ali
How's it
or
going?
Right, it's a file name here, right?
Yeah, but we want to keep it like just blank. There's no need to do that. And also, honest, it might be better to take if Yaman, if you can take Suganti to like a separate breakout room, just because this will output the actual like code, the private key pair. I just we probably don't want to have that like on the lecture recording.
Right.
I can also just I can pause the recording and redo it also, but I think it might just be better to have that in a separate.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, we can go to a breakout room.
okay. Just stop sharing. So I didn't get any request for the breakout room yet.
So it says an invite was sent. Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
Helena, do you have any questions? I mean, anything you, or do you wanna like share anything? Okay.
All right, so it is just about 5. So I think we're going to stop the recording.